What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we return with Adam of Scour, as well as Pig Destroyer, Index, and so many other bands that I need to look up on Metal Archives just to get the whole full list.
Yeah, and you know what? They usually have them all. It kind of blows my mind. Whoever keeps track of that whole entire database, like they're on it.
Yeah, they're more reliable than Wikipedia.
Yeah, man. I think it was like literally the day after. I guess I joined Lockup. Like literally, it just got announced. And my buddy like sent me a screenshot of Metal Archives, and he's like, "Dude, you're in Lockup now." I was like, "Damn, that was quick."
Right? I think,
So.
yeah, they're insane. Huge shout out to them for always bringing in the good facts. But it's so
Yeah,
awesome. It's so awesome to have you here. You know, the last time we spoke, we were covering mainly Misery Index, and then before that, we were covering Pig Destroyer. But now we're covering Scour, and you released the Black EP. Being that this was an EP, could this maybe serve as like a clear representation on maybe what the next full length Scour album is going to sound like in a way?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, it's definitely more of a focused approach and more, I guess, mature and kind of like captures what exactly we kind of want to go for. It's like, natural progression with every EP, I would say, which it's the 3 EP trilogy, and now it's time for the full length. And I know a lot of people, are constantly asking like, why another EP? Why another EP? But that was part of the original plan that Derek had. And, he talked to Phil about it, and he was totally on board, because I remember even talking to Phil, like, because Down was supposed to release like a series of EPs, and he was just like, yeah, people these days like don't have the attention span to listen to a full length album. And most people don't sit down and listen to full length albums anymore. It's all streaming, and you hear the single, and then you just move on to the next kind of thing,
Yeah.
So that being said, yeah, I mean, the songwriting is going to start soon. Derek said he's already cooking up some stuff for the full length. And, I really like what he did, when he first sent me the batch of songs, like 2 days before I tracked them in the studio. I was like, okay, it's obviously fucking ripping and blistering fast, but there's also like a lot of melody and melodic parts, I guess would be a better way to put it. Melody sounds a little bit too soft for Scour, but yeah, it's fun stuff, man. It's really challenging to play, and I'm basically training like an Olympic athlete to be able to play this kind of stuff. So
do you think that being that these EPs are like a trilogy, like do you think, for the people who like to listen and dive deep into the catalog, do you think like they should listen to Gray, then Red, then Black, kind of like, maybe is it almost kind of like Lord of the Rings, you need to listen to the first 2 in order to get the next one, or something like that?
Not necessarily. There's not really like a set theme other than each EP has 6 tracks. So it's the 666, that was definitely a conscious effort on Big D's part there to do that. And it's pretty awesome. And so each EP, the 5th track is a, like an interlude sample going into the last track. On the Black EP, it's a track called Microbes. I forget his name. Derek just posted about him the other day. But he did an amazing job on the sample on the Black EP. So, I mean, I played on the Red EP and the Black EP. Jesse Schobel was the drummer on the Gray EP. And of course there was the guitar change as well with Chase Frazier that used to be in Animosity. And shit, what's his brutal death metal band called?
Shall I pull up Metal
See,
Archives?
I should look this stuff up.
Yeah.
Go Metal Archives, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Call them up.
Well, I don't call Scour a super group. I call it a massive group pretty much because all of you guys are in like 40 bands. It's like featuring Phil Anselmo of Pantera, Down, Superjoint, N Minor, The Illegals, yada yada yada, featuring Adam Jarvis of Misery Index and Pig Destroyer, yada yada, Lockdown, yada yada yada, and then Derek coming from Cattle Decapitation and 30 other bands. So like, do your other projects
But
at all?
we're in lockdown.
Yeah, exactly. Do any of you?
What's that now?
Oh, sorry, it cut out for a second. But I got you.
Okay.
Yeah, but is it do any of the other projects that you're all involved with that you either currently play in or previously played in like influence this at all, or is the point of Scour to kind of like step into uncharted territory that none of you have been into?
Definitely. I mean, as far as the basic fundamentals of it, like blasting and, rip and thrash and skank beats and, stuff like that, for me personally, isn't really anything new, but it's the relentlessness of it and the ferocity of some of the sections that like is, different and definitely way more physical than a lot of other stuff that I, have done before. Or so, that being said, it's always good to be, I guess it's good to jam with, multiple different musicians and different projects and try different things and, always like, try and better yourself as a musician. And that's where I've always been at. I like the challenge and I like the difference between each project because it keeps it a little bit more fresh instead of say going and, playing shows with the same band constantly over and over, which I'm open to, but it's just, it doesn't work out that way now. And it's, a lot of bands are part-time. So you just go and play a festival gig and, maybe a club show or a couple club shows around that. And, then I'll come back and then go off with Misery Index for a month or, go play some shows with Pig Destroyer and, keeps it fun and interesting, and keeps my brain working. That's for sure, because it's a lot of shit to remember.
Yeah, definitely.
Got to constantly practice and stay fresh on the stuff. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Did you do that tour with Hoobastank like you said you did with Misery Index? That's what you left it at.
It's still in the works. I mean, COVID stopped it. It was finally the year, and
yeah. God damn it.
Bogus, man.
The reason I am no longer crawling in the dark and I will never be here again or running away. What happened? What happened to us?
I was ready to fill in on drums, if they ever need a drummer, they should, hit me up. I know all the material. No, I'm sure.
Well, in case you couldn't tell, I do. Yeah. So
you definitely do. I can tell. It's funny. My cousin Laura, we'll do like a Secret Santa thing for the Jarvis family Christmas. And she was like, oh, give me a couple ideas on what you want. And I was like, yeah, give me a Hoobastank CD.
Hey man.
And she wrote back, she's like, really? Which one? And I was like, obviously this is a joke.
They have a lot of great albums, actually. I mean, that was my gateway drug into heavy music. So I've always said if it wasn't for The Reason by Hoobastank, I wouldn't be into, Fucked with a Knife by Cannibal Corpse. They go hand in hand.
So, hey, everybody's got their gateway. I'm just gonna leave it right there. I'm not gonna say anything.
But as a drummer, have you always needed the music before you laid down the rhythm and the beat and stuff, or have you ever had like maybe a whole drum pattern written down beforehand and maybe the band would write over that?
Most of the time, it is, guitar tracks are sent first, and then I kind of, come up with whatever madness in my skull, and create, whatever crazy drum beats. But we have done it the other way, and I have, a bank of drum beats on my phone that, I'll just be, sitting, down at my kit, which actually I'm at my practice space right now, and it's my drum kit right behind me here.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, that's, I have so many ideas recorded that will end up getting used one way or the other, and I'll just kind of show something to Scott. And, Scott wants to do that. Actually, we're talking about that on the next Pig Destroyer album, where he wants me to kind of just come in and just like, spontaneity sometimes is like, way more fresh sounding, even, after you listen to it, 50, 60 times, as opposed to something that like sounds like you just sat down and like rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed. And, something to be said for like Prowler in the Yard with Pig Destroyer, that was like a lot of spontaneous, like came up with the idea on the spot and was like, all right, let's record it, and it's falling off the rails and not sure what's happening, but that's what makes it unique and awesome and, fun. Which also, speaking of which, I mentioned that I got some of those tracks for the Black EP from Derek. Like, it wasn't really, maybe a week. Some of them might have been a couple days, but some of those drum parts on the Black EP were played once, like
one take.
It was just like, it was literally like, I would listen to the song that morning before we'd start tracking. And I remember some of the parts were like, I'd be like, all right, just hit record and let's just see what happens. And like, just rip, whatever, and be like, I think that was pretty good. Let's just move on. And then like go back and listen to it and be like, yeah, that was it.
I've been pitching this genre to every musician I interview, but I feel like you would be the perfect drumming face for this genre. All organic metal. I think that's every project. That's what ties in all of them together. All organic metal.
Free range, no hormone, antibiotics.
Yep. No other obscure blast beats. I don't know, like whatever. But like, it just seems, because I was curious as a drummer, because I'm not a drummer, so I could be wrong in this regard, but like, I feel like it's the same goal if you're playing jazz music or if you're playing death metal. I feel like, the goal is to keep the rhythm and keep the beat together and hold the structure in. So like, does that maybe kind of, does it feel like in a way that there's a similar mind frame between Scour and Pig Destroyer and Misery Index, etc.?
No, it's all separated enough to where it stands on its own. It's like, Pig Destroyer is more of a, sporadic, controlled chaos in a way, just like from one thing to the next, just like ADD, spontaneity, like I said, controlled chaos is the best way to put it. Misery Index is more of like the focused, not like, I don't want to say basic song structure, but it's, more, got the chorus and, laid out in a way to where like a song builds and, got the grindcore, hardcore, death metal, punk fusion kind of thing going on. And then, but yeah, like I said before, it's all similar beats in a way. It's just how it's used. You can rip a blast beat and like, to quote J.R. Hayes from Pig Destroyer, he said, any asshole can do a blast beat. And it's,
coming from a front man.
Like, how do you do it? How do you do it effectively? And does it just sound like a blast beat, or does it sound like you playing that blast beat? It's like, you hear Pete Sandoval play a blast beat, you're like, oh yeah, that's Pete Sandoval doing that blast right there. Like Dave Colross, or even Kevin Talley, drummers like the Mike Smith, you hear it and it's like, that's fucking Mike Smith. So I don't know where I'm really going with that now.
You answered it perfectly.
Basically just, everything, each project has its own unique kind of, approach to the songwriting. And like I said, that's what keeps it fun and interesting for myself, especially, but try to stand on your own leg with each thing.
Does playing live is playing live a different art too than when you're playing in your practice space or in the studio? Because it is always different. So like a front man or a guitar player, who's like in front of the stage and interacting with the crowd. But is it a completely separate mind frame when you're playing live as well? Because your live shows, I've seen you with all three bands that we just mentioned, and like it's always an insane experience and full of energy. So is there maybe any similarity to playing live as a studio, or is it completely different?
Live is definitely, you have more of the adrenaline rush, I guess, as opposed to just sitting in your practice space. And that's what makes it, so much fun and like aggressive. And definitely, I've always said it, with the modern day drummers that just literally never move their drum kit. And, it's like, that's not a good thing. There's something to be said about, having to go play, Hellfest, and you have 30 minutes to set up your entire drum kit and sound check, and then just start playing and hope that your cymbal stands don't fall over. That's what you have to worry about as a drummer. So I guess to narrow it down, it's definitely way more. I guess in the studio you just have to be more focused on the take and make sure that it's exactly what you want, because that's your legacy, of course. But live, there's little room for error still, but you can kind of maybe throw in a little extra pizzazz here and there, speed things up, maybe slow a part down that you thought was too fast on the record, which happens a lot. You hear it back and you're like, oh man, maybe we should have slowed that down. Well, do it live now,
Yeah.
That's what makes a live show so unique. And that's why people, love concerts and just watching the bands rip, especially extreme music is like, it's always fascinating to see, guitar player wail a solo, or, drummer do a fucking, whatever craziness. And yeah, people are going to, especially with this year, they're going to be like, damn, okay, you can't take that shit for granted in a way, where you can just go to a show. I know you're in New York City, so it's like, damn, you can go to a show, 15 shows in, a night if you wanted to.
Yeah. Well, back in the...
Anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks. But I will say that when this is over, we're going to enter the best era of music of all time. That's what at least that's what I'm thinking.
I hope so, man. I really curious to see what's going to happen, but I know that everybody's going to be hungry for it, the musicians and the fans as well. And hopefully it'll be kind of like I guess you could even say a renaissance in a way of, maybe people being like, wow, maybe I should have went to that show on that Tuesday night, last year when I, was like, oh, I'll see you next time,
Yeah.
Because it's hard to say how many bands are actually going to make it out of this. A lot of bands have been breaking up, and, people are going to have to move on to do something else, because, when you're not, it's just like the venues themselves, when there's, you're not playing the shows, you're not, making the money, selling the merch, you're not, the clubs aren't making, money at the bar, and it's like, it's really going to be interesting to see,
I think there'll be a band like Earth Crisis coming out of this, but instead of straight edge and vegan, it's going to be mask and social distancing. That's what I think is going to be one of the first themes to come out of this. But metal has always prevailed from this. We've gone through one tragedy after another, but I think great creativity is going to come out of this, and it'll be great to just see live music again. And you heard it here, folks. I don't ever want to hear somebody say, oh, what time is the headliner on tonight? Just get your ass to the fucking show as soon as you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time.
You there?
Oh yeah, I'm here. It cut out again. Sorry. But
okay.
Yeah. But before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Is there just anything else that you would like to promote for Scour, maybe to hold fans over, maybe a live stream performance, or anything else going on?
We're throwing around some ideas. I'll leave it at that. But if you haven't heard, the Black EP, it's available through Housecore Records in the U.S. It's available with Nuclear Blast worldwide, and of course we're on all social media, where you can find the Linktree account that has basically everything you would want. So yeah, you can check out all the other members' bands. Phil's got In Minor going right now, which I fucking love that band. And he showed me after the first Scour show. I rode back with him and his wife back to his house, and he was playing me some of that material when it was kind of just like taking form. And I was like blown away, dude. I was like, holy shit, this is amazing, Yeah. And, of course, Derek's in the Illegals now, and John's got his new band Nest, and he's agoraphobic Nosebleed. And then me and Mark, of course, are in Misery Index. And, so just do some research and poke around, and it's not like no excuses. You got time to these days. So
yeah, now's the time to listen to full-length albums. It's going to make full-length albums cool again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. But always great to talk to you, man, and be safe.
Yeah, likewise, dude.
Everybody, we are here with Adam of Scour, and be sure to check out Pig Destroyer, Misery Index, and the 35 other bands that I can't name off the top. But this is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.